7. Waj is here, ladies and gentlemen. Are we live on all the things? Did it work?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, fellow Pete, the race trader who has helped the liberals and the Muslims and the Marxists and the gays take over America. We could not have done it without you, our mole who was inside the entire time. Thank you, sir.
I don't like when you speak Muslim, especially not like that. I feel like you put an extra scary sound on.
I put some phlegm in it. I put some extra 1991 Disney's Aladdin phlegm in it to make it, both comforting and a bit unnerving.
It's exactly what it was. So how I felt uncomfortable and unnerved. Now that I believe is Arabic, the thing you did. Is there a lot of dialects? Can you understand? How well do you speak?
Shwaya. I took it in college a bit, and of course you read the Quran, and so I know a little bit, but I can't speak it. My brother-in-law speaks it fluently. He's a Pakistani American. But there are a majority of Muslims in America are not Arab, in fact. About 30% are black or African American, meaning black. They came from African countries, immigrants, or born and raised here. 25 to 30% South Asian, and 20% are Arab. In fact, most Arab Americans in the United States are Christian, so they're the good ones. Oh, but they're Arab. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was my people. My people were Arab Americans that escaped persecution, and they came here to be Catholics and marry Sicilians.
Oh, wonderful! So you actually then married back into some Moorish Muslim stock. Well done.
Yeah, like at some point
you couldn't escape us.
You got to end the cycle. You got to get it. You got to whiten it up a bit, which is we've got to save our. I was watching Nick Fuentes, and we've got to save. It's too watered down, I think.
So Nick Fuentes, for those who don't know, has been embraced fully by the right wing. He's a neo-Nazi, a person who said Hitler was based, anti-Semite, hate monger. And for the past couple of weeks, because the Groypers now represent the present and future of the GOP, I'm sure you've seen he's just been feted and loved. There's just been easy interviews. Steven Crowder, Katie Miller was asked to condemn him. She's Jewish, wife of Minnie Goebbels, Stephen Miller. She didn't. Don Jr. didn't. Donald Trump didn't. But our boy Piers Morgan, who has been inviting me last week and this week, actually got him to admit that he's a racist. I thought it was a pretty good interview. What'd you think?
Oh, I didn't watch that one. I watched.
Oh, you didn't see the clips?
I saw a couple of the clips. I saw them fighting. I watched him with Tucker Carlson, and I haven't talked to you in like a month or something. But I've been calling it ever since that interview. I've been calling the kind of right-wing Americans, MAGA Americans, the hoods off movement, because he seems to have won the fight for their minds and hearts. But did Steven Crowder interview Nick Fuentes?
Yeah, Steven Crowder, I think, interviewed him yesterday. Complete softball interview. Says, "Are you an anti-Semite?" "I'm not." "Okay, glad that's cleared up." And he moved on. And It's so funny. Steven Crowder, all these failed actors and comedians in MAGA, it's so funny. Yeah. Wasn't Steven Crowder a voice of like an animated figure? And then he went into the right-wing sphere.
I don't know. I remember that when he started out, he called himself a comedian, and that used to bother a lot of us. And my old friend Amy Schumer took him down on Fox News Red Eye by basically saying it's like, you calling yourself a comedian would be like me calling myself a fisherman because I fished once.
But did you even? And no, it's a failed fisherman. It's like you fishing and like not getting fish, but like getting lead poisoning instead.
Well, regardless, Steven Crowder, all these people normalizing, recognizing Nick Fuentes. So since we're into it, where are you on describing the current state of the MAGA movement's ideology? Because they are split down. How would you describe the split? How do you characterize it? Do you think they are actually?
So let's just shit on Steven Crowder for a second, and I'll continue. Sure. He was also the voice of the brain in the Arthur cartoon, so I was right. And speaking about these terrible comedians, David Rubin, who I call David Rubles.
Oh, I know him well. I knew him at the beginning of his career. I advocated for him at SiriusXM. We were pretty good friends.
He was progressive, tried to be a comedian, apparently not funny, and then became an unsuspecting, allegedly, paid agent of Russian propaganda. That's where he got his money. Michael Knowles, failed actor, Went to Yale, was the most convincing role he's ever had in my life is as a horny gay man having sex in the student movie House of Shades, which is available on YouTube. Yes, House of Shades, Michael Knowles, the anti-LGBTQ Catholic warrior.
Guys,
You can see it on YouTube right now. It's all projection with these folks, but what it is a fragile losing mindset of white supremacy. The narrative is white supremacy. If you don't like the word white supremacy, use one word. They're racist, Pete. They have been racist ever since you had your Sirius XM show. You had me on. I said he's a racist president when he was running for the first time. I remember BBC NewsHour had me on, and I said that he's a white supremacist, and this is the death rattle of white supremacy. And you should have seen the face of the host. He goes, white supremacist?
I had that. I remember a similar moment where I had MSNBC's Katie Tur in studio. She was promoting a book, I think, of covering Trump the first.
I remember that one. Yeah. That's what got her the show. The show.
And I said he's a white supremacist, and she was appalled by my suggestion. And I was like, I remember I got into a bit of an argument with her. I was like, but you covered him. You don't think that that's the right characterization? She's like, oh, I don't know why you think, but
racial trip up. Well, let's take the DeLorean back in time. He descends the staircase, which was not golden, bronze, and he announces his campaign for presidency by doing what? Calling Mexicans rapists and criminals.
Yeah.
Before that, he gets into the spotlight by being the main cheerleader of the both anti-black and Islamophobic birther conspiracy against our first black president. This is a man whose entire history is filled with racism. To this day, folks, these poor kids, there were kids, the Central Park Five were now the exonerated five. He took out money in the New York Times to call for the death penalty. And because he's so vain, so weak, so fragile, can't ever admit that he's wrong, even after these poor men have been exonerated, he still says that they're guilty, folks. This is a man who then ran on the Muslim ban after he realized was getting traction with Ben Carson. He took it over, complete Taliban and the Muslims coming in, said Islam hates America. In his first Trump administration, remember he said, why do they come from shithole countries? Why can't they come from Norway? And then remember he led that chant, send them back, send them back. He was talking to AOC.
By the way, shithole countries comments were private and they leaked. And now it's a perfect distillation of the difference between Trump 1 and Trump 2, because he used to say those things in private. He also used to make all kinds of demands and give out all kinds of orders that were not carried out. Now he says things openly and the orders are being carried out. Like there's no stopping him.
It's a good memory, because if you all recall when he said that, there were so many Democrats and Republicans in the room. I don't know if you remember. First, like, no, he didn't say that. There were a lot of Democrats. He said it. Then they're like, he didn't say shithole. He said shit house countries.
Oh, right.
Remember that? So I'm like, oh, what's the difference between a shithole and a shit house? A shit house has Wi-Fi. But they at least tried. There was like some shame. So this is who they've always been. Our 2018 midterm election. He's doing well. Economy's doing well, right? A normal, sane presidency would just run on the economy. Remember what he did? Remember midterm elections? Invasion, caravan, rapists, criminals. The same language that was used by terrorists. Robert Bowers, the anti-Semite, who went and killed 11 Jews at Tree of Life. Right at the same time, he used the same exact language. Yep. Then they started at that time. They're like, oh, this is getting traction. So around that time, 2018 onward, they went all in with the neo-Nazi replacement theory, which is now mainstream, which they say that the rest of us are replacing them. So I'm taking us through this DeLorean trip because the rest of us, Pete, like you, have said this man is a racist. This man is capitalizing on racism and white supremacy and misogyny. All the data that came from the 2016 election said that the main reason, not the only reason, the main reason was not economic anxiety, the zombie narrative, cultural anxiety of them being replaced. And you heard for the entire past 10 years, it's not racism, it's a racial trip up, racial flare up, all these euphemisms. And it was so bad less than a week ago when on Tuesday he woke up from his slumber, because we haven't talked in a month. Remember, he was like, and Marco Rubio was next to him giving verbal fellatio, and he just fell asleep while the cameras were on. But then he gets up, he goes, what? Somalis, I hate them. They're garbage people. Yep. And it was so bad. It was so bad that even the New York Times was like, all right, this was a bit xenophobic. People.
He even talks hatred in his sleep. He's like, so tired, garbage people, send them back. It's, by the way,
migrate, Nobel Peace Prize. Okay. I won't get it. Fine.
Afrikaners.
Beef price.
So sleepy. White Afrikaners only.
What more do you need? Speaking about white Afrikaners, I mean, it's a really good point that it's not. It's always been this way, but now there's no shame. In the Trump administration, folks, in the past month, they have limited the number of refugees that can come to America. It's the lowest it's been. So I think for Biden was 175,000. Now it's 7,500. But Pete, there's an exception. Can you tell people who the exception is for? Not Palestinians, not Afghans, not Iraqis, not Ukrainians. Can you tell them?
White Afrikaners with K. Extra K. 3K.
Extra 3Ks. 3Ks.
Please. Listen, he said that Somalis are garbage. And the thing is, he's garbage. He's a garbage person. I can't believe we have to wake up and deal with him and talk about him and think about him. But I wonder if we could just talk. I was talking to my friend Tim Wise, who, if you haven't talked to, you got to have him on your Substack. Tim's the best. And he uses the word sadist to talk about the president and his supporters. And I think that is the perfect word. And so at this point, if you still support this person who's such a garbage person to everybody all the time, you're a sadist. You love to see other people suffering. That's who he is. You don't have to care. You have to know his politics. These boat assassinations make him now a murderer, and Hegseth and anybody else who carries out those orders, they're murderers, because it's not a war crime because there's no war. But they are, and people like Megyn Kelly and his supporters, they love it. They love that they're blowing these people up because they think they're narco-terrorists. So I feel like sadism is probably one of the best words and ideas to zero in on for Trump and his supporters. How do you feel about that?
No, and Adam Serwer in the first Trump administration, right? The essay that went viral that really described them is cruelty is the point. And you're absolutely right. Sadism, the cruelty, they relish in the cruelty. They relish in the sadism. Folks, regardless of what you think, suppose you're against drug traffickers. Okay. These Venezuelan fishermen.
No, you don't need that. We're all against drug traffickers. You're like, suppose you don't like him. I don't
know, but Pete, I thought Pete might like a drug trafficker or two, so I had to just clarify. I don't like the drug traffickers, but first and foremost,
never even had a drink.
First and foremost, it's true. I haven't. I have water though. Can you imagine if I drank? You know how unhinged I would be if I was actually doing drugs and alcohol. My God, that would be disturbing.
I think you should start drinking and smoking weed. I think you'd be a better person. But that's neither high nor there.
Neither. I would probably become a trafficker. The thing is, and I can get pardoned. I just wear a MAGA hat and Donald Trump would pardon me.
Oh my God! Not only is it a narco-terrorist, it's also a Muslim. Blow him up with the biggest whatever. What do we have?
What do we have? We have the mother of all bombs. We dropped it in Afghanistan. We're gonna drop it on Warbalat. His name is Wajahat. Whatever. I'll just wear a MAGA hat. He'd be like, "What? He's a Trump supporter. Never mind. Pardon. I pardon you." Just like he pardoned the ex-Honduran president who was literally working with drug cartels. But folks, I'm so glad you mentioned this. I don't think this should be kept out of the news, and I've been on it for a while. Is these strikes? They were literally murdering people. Yeah, extrajudicially, no evidence. And we have a Navy. You ever see Captain Phillips? I think it's kind of unintentionally hilarious. A very good movie. You have these 3 emaciated Somalis who took over the boat, right, in real life. I'm the captain now. They're like starving. And then, I don't know if you saw the movie, but it's like an unintentional like critique of U.S. imperialism and how we respond. This one boat in the movie is surrounded by like 3 U.S. Navy ships, right? So always just remember, like, we have a Coast Guard. We have a Navy. They could have interdicted, right? They could have blown the mortars. They could have stopped them. All the normal stuff. They chose, folks, to blow them up. And now what we know is all the people that they killed, we still don't know. There's no evidence that they're drug traffickers. They didn't order even a single strike. They ordered a double strike. And the video, apparently there's a 41-minute video that is going to get Pete Hegseth completely screwed, because I don't know if you saw, but right now today he's trending because now he's not releasing that video. He's like, what? I said I'd release that video. Never mind. He said on December 3rd, I'll have no problem releasing video. And now today he said, I didn't say that. He did. Yep. And now he's saying whatever Hegseth wants you to do is okay with that. That's talking about Donald Trump. So now Donald Trump is not going to release the video that he said he was going to release, because the video shows that 2 unarmed sailors hanging on for dear life for 41 minutes. And then they deliberated, the Trump administration, and then said, yeah, kill them all.
Oh, I didn't know this new detail.
Yeah, 41. So there's a video. that Himes and others saw that says one of the most disturbing videos they saw, where apparently for 41 minutes, the Trump administration deliberated what to do with these survivors who survived from the first illegal strike. Pete Hegseth first said, yeah, kill them all. He said, yeah, or the double strike. Then he says, oh, shit, I messed up. No, it was Admiral Bradley. And now he said, I don't know if you saw it last week, he goes, I gave the first order, but then I left the room. Fog of war. And Megyn Kelly, for those who haven't followed what Pete was saying, Megyn Kelly on her show went and said, I want to see them dismembered.
Yep.
I want to see like limbs in the water. I want to see blood. And Greg Gutfield, another failed comedian who failed up in life on Fox, said the same thing. I want to destroy these people. I want to see them maimed. Who wants to see this type of savagery? Who gets off on seeing this type of a torture porn? MAGA, cruelty. Same folks who are the cultural ancestors of the white supremacists who in the 20th century used to bring their family and kids and have picnics around hung and tortured black bodies in the United States of America, Pete.
It's you could trace it back. It's a really important point. These people have always been with us, but the ideology spreads and lies spread, and so much faster using social media today than then. And it's a really important point to talk about. I mean, I think right now, where do you think that we're at? Because I feel like there's a good amount of optimism that he is losing a tremendous amount of support. I mean, it sucks that he has to call American Somalis garbage for American Somalis who supported him to quit him, but they did, at least some, as well as losing support amongst other demographics that he gained. I'm not talking about what this means so much for the midterm elections. That's a billion years away, and we don't know if it's going to be free and fair and the gerrymandering and so on. But I do think, and it does matter to talk about and for people like us to discuss, that he's lost a tremendous amount of support amongst the American public, and he's lost entire support from our European partners, Canada, and the rest of our, quote, friends. And obviously he's gained support from the worst people in the world. But where do you think, and how are you characterizing the MAGA?
So we'll do good and bad. First, let's start with the bad, and then we'll start with the good. A desperate, cornered New York City rat will chew through anything and everyone to stay alive. No disrespect to New York City rats. That's what Donald Trump is. He's also dying before our eyes, Pete. This man is dying. This man literally cannot stay awake. He had 2 MRIs in 6 months. Can't tell you what part of his body he had an MRI on. Already had a physical, went again to Walter Reed. We still don't know why. We've seen the cankles.
About that comes with perfection.
Yeah, it doesn't have the energy to do rallies anymore. Remember how many rallies he used to do? Doesn't do them. Tries to hide his palm, can't. So I think he's dying before our eyes. And as he's dying, you have 3 somewhat competing but aligned ideologies. You have the straight up white nationalism of Stephen Miller. He's dyed-in-the-wool white nationalist. This has been his wet dream since 9th grade. You have white Christian nationalists with Russell Vought, who is the co-author of Project 2025. And then you have the Broligarchy, which is Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, and others, who are now furthermore aligned with eugenics and white supremacy. What combines all of them is desire for power, specifically white power, and greed. So they're drinking up all our milkshake. They've already passed the greatest wealth transfer in U.S. history, which is going to happen next year, the tax cuts for the billionaires. So that job is done. He's already dismantled the government through Doge, and they have all of our information. Palantir has billions of dollars of contracts, so they're building their surveillance state. They already have ICE, their American Gestapo. The billionaire Bill dismantles Medicaid and also gives $180 billion to ICE, which will now have the 17th largest military army force in the world, essentially. More private prisons. They have the mergers now. Let's see what happens with this hostile Paramount attempt to block Netflix and take over Warner Brothers. It's Larry Ellison. I think he'll probably help Larry Ellison get it done. So near consolidation of the media. And furthermore, the right wing, instead of expanding and reforming, they're doubling down because this is the death rattle of white supremacy. transformed into a death march. They're playing for all the marbles. So to them, this is a zero-sum game. If you've been following all these people, the way they speak is like apocalyptic. Look at Elon Musk for the past 10 days. Every tweet, white rate, white birth rate, white birth rate, white birth rate, white population. They're replacing us, replacing us, replacing us. So they're not interested in the democratic project. They're not interested in reform. And the scary part is, I don't think they're interested in elections. My fear is, as he keeps circling down the drain, they are setting up a ragstack fire moment for a martial law. And if you think I'm being crazy, you're not paying attention to Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump. You know,
listen, just to be clear, everything you just said is something that Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker are saying. Two Democrats that are governors of big states with lots of people are saying exactly what you said about the potential midterm, the strategy. And I think it's not just Waj saying this.
No, good. I'm not, but a lot of people thought we were crazy, right? But it's the Insurrection Act, which he's been asked, and he didn't say no. Will you implement it? He didn't say no. Pam Bondi talked about it. Stephen Miller has openly talked about it. Now they're going for birthright citizenship. Now they're going for denaturalization. They're going all in. And this shows you, going back full circle to the start of this conversation, what do they have left? Racism. He can't escape the sinking economy. He's negative double digits. He can't escape the Epstein files. He's negative 35 points. He can't escape his immigration policy. He's overreached. So what do they have left, Pete? You saw it in the past week. And then you saw Axios a couple of days ago. Even this is unpopular. Like going against the Somalis, like 65% of Americans like, this is disgusting. They're doubling down on it because this is who they are. This is the end game. White nationalism, white supremacy. That's the end game. Now, the good news about this is he's lost the Latino voters. It's back to 2016 numbers. Young people have fled. It is remarkable. Have you seen the polls where it's been like just like a 50+ point turnaround in less than a year? All these young people are like, F you, man. I thought you'd change my life. Young people gone. Latinos gone. Some of the Asians and Muslims gone. He's lost some white folks. He's lost some MAGA. He can't afford to lose any MAGA, which means that if we do have these elections and these elections are free and fair, they're going to get their asses kicked. The one positive here is their gerrymander might be a dummy mander, meaning they might not be able to even overcome the gerrymander because Latinos themselves might be able to swing some of these districts in Texas, which is probably what Jasmine Crockett's doing. The reason why she ran, and I don't know if she'll win, it's Texas. I don't have any faith in Texas and Florida, but she's probably banking on, okay, it's going to get so bad in the next 2 years that the Republican gerrymander is going to turn into a dummy mander, and these Latinos and whites that they think are going to vote for them might actually switch for me. It's a big if, but I still think things are going to get far worse in the next 2 years with the economy. I think they're going to get far more violent. They're going to get far more white nationalist. And folks, if you don't follow this, they're openly talking about remigration, Pete. That's a Nazi term. They're like top down. This is not just the French, top down. Yep. So that's my take. What do you think?
Did you say the good news?
The good news is in the special elections, we're winning. The good news is white people are waking up with the No Kings rally. The good news is you're seeing Costco and some other companies finally flex and sue them on tariffs. The good news is the color that dominates in America, even more than white, is green. And at the end of the day, some of these people who are backing Trump want money. And if it seems like they're losing money, which they are, I think they're going to abandon him. You've seen people like Joe Rogan. You're seeing the ratings go down. You're seeing the brosphere go down a bit. You're seeing more and more people wake up. So the fact that more of us are awake and organized and angry, that's the good news. But what I'm warning people is it's not going to be a switch. I don't think it's going to be like, midterms and we're going to be back. I think this is generational damage.
Yeah. There's no doubt that there's generational damage for all kinds of on different metrics, and so I'm still pretty optimistic about how things can change and be repaired slowly. But I don't think there's any guarantees. One thing I think is interesting, I wanted to get your take on, is how things are changing in terms of the Overton window and what it might mean if Democrats run a true progressive, that whether they call themselves a democratic socialist or not, they run in a similar way that Mamdani did. And what I mean, why it could be very interesting, is I think all these weak bro podcasters, from Rogan to Andrew Schultz to Tim Dillon and all of the rest, Theo Vaughn, they could absolutely get behind the right Democrat who's a good communicator and who talks about affordability. I think those kinds of guys were a game changer in 24. I think they could be again. I think that matters a lot in congressional races as well. I mean, Mamdani, yeah, he's a once in a generation talent, but people saw how that worked and what he did. And I think they'll try to copy him in a lot of different ways in terms of their rhetoric, much less their policies. And I think that matters a lot. I think that guy and what he's done is going to matter a lot also simply because he's going to govern whether or not he can do anything as a, you know, in terms of accomplishing his agenda doesn't matter as much to me as New York City doesn't go out of business and become a communist hellscape that they've always described. I feel like that always matters. It mattered when Obama won. He didn't take your guns. He wasn't a socialist. And so I feel like there's a lane for progressives at the presidential level and maybe even someone like Jasmine Crockett, though I just have a hard time thinking how a woman, much less a black woman, could win in Texas when even, you know, Beto O'Rourke, a white man, had a hard time. But regardless, I've been on the Crockett train since she was a Texas state congressperson. So
she's a fighter. Listen, this is the problem with the Democratic Party, and this is the come to Jesus moment for them. If you have seen the Democratic establishment, Donald Trump embraced Mamdani before Chuck Schumer and Gillibrand and Jeffries.
Yeah. I think that's going to change, though. It's a great point, though.
And they threw everything and the kitchen sink and a Bill Clinton against Mamdani.
That's right. Ew. And for Bill Clinton to come out and support an alleged accuser of who've been accused by a dozen women, Bill Clinton's endorsement of Andrew Cuomo was like, so I don't know, lack of self-awareness is the kindest I could possibly.
It just shows you how afraid they are of what he allegedly represents. And furthermore, the Islamophobia that has been mainstream now openly, this is this, folks, I've been following this for 24 years. It's the worst I've ever seen it. Because at least back then, the policies were terrible. All those folks, the neocons, should be in prison for war crimes. But at least performatively, they never said this stuff. If George W. Bush ran in 2025, he'd be destroyed by Republicans for being a Muslim lover. This type of blatant Islamophobia was kind of, the road was paved in the last 2 months by the Democratic establishment and the right wing with what they did against Mamdani, what they were allowed to get away with, where he had to condemn chants he had never used. They equated him to Hamas. They equated him to the 9/11 terrorist, right? Because all brown Muslim people, it's like this. Arabs, Palestinians, Muslims, brown people, you're all the same. Al-Qaeda, ISIS extremists. That's what it is. And you saw Mamdani win despite that. So, Pete, I think this is, you know, I've said this, we haven't talked in a while. I think seeing Mamdani and seeing these special elections, this is what I think. I believe a Democrat who really wants to win in 2 or 3 years, right? It's going to be a long time. You cannot be sucking at the teat of the broligarchy. You have to embrace the anti-broligarchy message, number one. Number two, you cannot be sucking at the teat of Netanyahu and AIPAC. This is an entire generation radicalized in real time by genocide. And you've seen all the polls. The Democratic base has completely moved. So has a part of the Republican base. Three, you cannot go do the old school, we're going to throw the woke under the bus act. You can't throw immigrants under the bus. You can't throw LGBT under the bus. You can't throw young people under the bus. You can't throw black people under the bus. Mamdani had a core message of affordability, us versus them, the majority versus the 1%, bottom versus top. I don't believe in billionaires, but I'll work with them. And America has to be affordable for everybody. He went and talked to undocumented immigrants. He went to a gay club. He stood in front of a mosque. And he leaned into what made America great, much like Obama, because he could not ignore his race, because race was made into a politicized issue and a weapon against him. So he leaned in, just like Obama did. Now, the reason why I think that they won't do it is they're unwilling to stop sucking at the teat of the broligarchy. If you don't believe me, look at Gavin Newsom. Just 2 days ago, he was asked about the billionaires. He goes, it's a big club. When asked about Israel, did you see that in the notebook?
I didn't see this, but I'm looking. I did not see any of this. Go ahead.
Yeah, in the notebook interview, he's like, what about taxing the billionaires? He goes, well, what's a big club? When it comes to Israel, the smoothest talkers, Gavin Newsom, Cory Booker, Pete Buttigieg, have nothing to say. And then earlier this week, I don't know if you saw Hillary Clinton. Did you see this? Hillary Clinton gets invited by Sheldon Adelson's widow, Miriam Adelson, who has given $600 million to Donald Trump, gave $100 million to Republicans to try to control the House. Miriam Adelson every year has this pro-Israel, I don't know, conference, had it in New York for the first time. The world's worst people come. And guess who also accepted the invite? Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton there for Miriam Adelson, who literally is one of the worst people, who has given hundreds of $millions to Donald Trump and Republicans, said the young people, they got radicalized and they're misled by the TikTok and the social media. And then when Hillary Clinton was invited to the Doha Forum a couple of days ago, she doubled down on it. Now you tell me, Pete, with the Democratic establishment of voices like Gavin Newsom and Chuck Schumer and Hillary Clinton saying this, do you have faith in them winning over the disaffected majority in 2028? I don't.
I have faith in that they're on their way out. Their influence has waned a tremendous amount, pretty much everybody you said. And while you'll have a Gavin Newsom running, either he'll see the way the wind is blowing, or you'll also have a Bernie Sanders-like progressive running. And Bernie is what I think is the argument that matters because of how popular he was in 16, again in 20.
Yep.
And I think that if you have somebody basically who shares his politics, his agenda, which is a lot of progressives, I think that establishment influence will not matter, because I think they'll be able to harness that energy, especially if they're a charismatic person. That's what matters the most for the American electorate. That's what I think. But
look, Zoran, I interviewed him almost a year ago when he was a distant number 2. I was very impressed by him. He was authentic. He was a great messenger. His main message was affordability. He stood on that message. He went 10 toes down on his beliefs. He stood for something and fought for something. He did not waver when it came to Palestine. He did not waver when it came to immigrants, right? What did Gavin Newsom do as soon as Trump was elected? He had his own podcast. He invited who? Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And so I think if they go for a Gavin Newsom type, an establishment type, this is what my fear is. And I wanted your thoughts on this. I see a stopgap measure in 2028 where the wind is blowing, meaning people are so sick and tired of Republicans. Inshallah, if we have free and fair elections, you got a Democrat. Yeah. But you don't get the type of Democrat who is calling and fighting for generational reform. Yep. You get a stopgap restoration Democrat like Gavin Newsom. And then what's going to happen in 2032, my fear is we get our first Nazi president.
Yeah, you and your friend Francesca Fiorini agree on that idea for sure. I don't know. It's a long way away, and I feel like Gavin Newsom is peaking a bit early. He certainly is charismatic and a fighter. I think people want that, but I agree with your and her analysis of his politics and where he lands. I know I've had you for 30 minutes, and I love you and I adore you, and I hate to say goodbye, but I know you've done so many interviews along today. You're very busy. You're talking to all the people.
This is Pete's way of saying Pete has to go to the bathroom. And
I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to go anywhere. I'll talk to you for another hour. I wanted to ask you 2 more questions if you have time. One is
go for it.
Well, one is you have been doing really good work, and I love following, subscribed to your Substack because I get noticed every time you're live. And I want to be like you someday with this massive following. Part of it, which is the best thing about how well you're doing, I guess, which is a credit to and a testament to your work, your ideology, your ability. I think, especially speaking of charisma outside of your face and you're being a Muslim, I think you're very likable and funny. But I think that it gives you this access to some of the best people. And so my question is, tell me not who your favorite new person that you've talked to, but because you've been talking to this wide range of experts on your Substack and elsewhere, tell me somebody who you like. Who should we go listen to?
Pete Dominic. You should listen to Pete Dominic. Pete Dominic, in addition to your Venmo, check your Venmo. I sent you the money. Pete is a good guy who was at Sirius XM. And I remember when he had a live show, he used to invite me. And then we came on, I think, live one time in the Trump first administration. And then you were shocked that I was not as hideous in person. And then you gave me a compliment. You're like, you're a handsome guy. I'm like, I married Pete. And you're like, all right. And then you're like, and you started touching me. And I'm like, Pete, please. And I said, and you said, all right, sorry. And then we talked about,
you were so good looking that I did that creepy thing where you go and look up when you see a good looking guy, you go up and look to see if his wife is as or more attractive, because it's never going to be less.
She's more attractive.
And she's a very attractive woman, but she's also a very successful physician and so on. I don't mean to minimize.
And she's like a kind person too. So she tolerates me. So Pete, you know, well, you use his platform to bring on all these progressive voices, and also, unlike these other people, he's actually a successful comedian. Can you tell people, he used to open for Colbert every night, right?
Oh, I've had some success. Waj Colbert, Jon Stewart hired me at the Daily Show, and then Stephen Colbert took me, and then I went to John Oliver. I've worked with all those guys, but I think what I'm more proud of than anything that I've done as a comedian and so on, and even here, I love getting to interview experts, which what I do every day on my show. It's daily. Is the local activism I've done with the Board of Education, local.
There you go. I was gonna get there.
And I feel like I always like to talk about that only because I want to inspire people to get involved locally. It's the most important impact you can have no matter who you are. And so to me, that's what I always like to say that I'm certainly most proud of. I never expected to be that guy, but well, maybe I did. I don't know. But either way.
Also a good dad who talks about vulnerability and gathers together all these men to make sure they're not falling into the toxic brosphere, and that you can be a straight man married to a woman and or loves women and has kids and isn't a complete misogynist and a freak. So I'm very lucky. I was thinking about it, Pete. The way the world works. If I recall, I think I first emailed you for advice because I had a Rolodex of like 80 folks that I wanted to talk to who I respect, because I was being boycotted left and right. I saw where the corporate media was going, and I was trying to figure out what to do next. And then you gave me some really good advice, which I always appreciated. And then you called me one day. You're like, "What the F, man? My dream job is Sirius XM, and they just let me go." So I gave you some of my advice, and then you and me, ever since then, we're just independent hustlers. And now you're asking me for advice, which is amusing because about a year ago I started the Left Hook, and my wife was like, "Man, we got 3 kids. You've been in this game. You've been at the top of this game, and yet they'll never give you the flowers, if you will. They'll never give you that type of status because I think you might be too blunt, too brown, too Muslim, and you don't engage in this whitewashing." And so, it was a struggle, which is fine. We're much better off than most people. And so we started this Left Hook Substack. I thought, Pete, if I got 10,000 people, I could call it a day. But for whatever reason, sometimes you just hit how you hit a tipping point. And I feel, knock on wood, like the last month has been a really great tipping point where all the work is paying off and like the communities are merging. And so I feel like, if I could do this, and who am I? I'm nobody. Then a guy like you who's been in the game longer than us, you should be thriving. So I'm glad that you're on Substack now, and now you're finally crossed over into YouTube. And if all these terrible people can get paid so much for such shitty opinions, that's why I always tell Danielle, my co-host, like, we work hard, we try to be good people, and we're not greedy. So if all the worst people on earth are getting millions, why can't we do okay and help each other out? So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, well,
how about you? What do you think?
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I think that the best thing we could do is continue to promote each other's work, but I'm a little uneasy with some progressives on Substack. I'll tell you their names after, and a lot of other people in progressive media, because I think they're too concerned with the following and the clicks. We all are. That's how we have to make money. We have to get followers. We have to get paid subscribers, turn them into paid subscribers. That's the whole deal. It's also the best way to make a living, more pure, I think, with integrity, because you're not accepting necessarily money from ads and all the other places. I mean, I'm not saying you can't, but I feel uneasy with some of the way that they do things, just to be a little bit more vague. And I feel like it's important.
Well, how so? Without naming them, what do they do? I'm just curious.
There's a way that they talk and promote their work that is very clickbaity, in the way that they position some of their opinions as well, that I feel like is disingenuous, to be kind. And I just think it's, to me, I get not envious or jealous of people that have kind of surpassed me, because I've been in this game for so long, and yet some guy just started, or even woman just started a few years ago, and they've got a bigger following and so on. Because I feel like we, as a public, should be supporting the people, the journalists, the creators with the most credibility. And I think credibility in this day and age is hard to measure, but I have a kind of a formula for it myself. But credibility is your reputation. Your reputation is your currency, and how you live your life and how you conduct your work and who you're talking to and what you're talking about and where you are and what, like, all that matters. And to me, I watch people, and if they're not being the change that they want to see, I see it and I don't support it. I don't like it. And I'm out here doing all the things I think that we need to do in all the different ways that I can. Things I don't necessarily talk about, but like, because touting them would be disingenuous to me. But that's what some of these people are not afraid to do. And I just feel like they're not doing the work. And I feel like they're really trying to get subscribers and clicks in ways that I find. I think that you taking other people's content and not crediting it is disgusting. And I think a lot of people with huge followings are doing that, for example. There's more, but that's my
yeah. There's also the Lizzas of the world and the Nutsis of the world, but we can just do, my take on this is I'm going to be me. I'm going to do it my way. And the Muslim in me is like, whatever is meant to come to me is gonna come to me. That's why I don't get into envy and jealousy either. I see what they're doing, but this stuff doesn't last. Eventually, yeah, you get a short-term burst, and even if you do succeed, at what cost? And totally random, because right before I came on, I was just seeing why Brendan Fraser was trending, and he was trending because he's in an interview. I think Hollywood Reporter Variety does these actors on actors showcases where they interview each other. So Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is interviewing him, and Dwayne Johnson says, I've never said this to you in person, but like years ago, I got my break because you were in the Mummy franchise, and they pitched me to be the Scorpion King, and you, instead of saying no, you welcomed me, and I just want to tell you that jump-started my career. And Brendan Fraser has gone through so much hell. I grew up with that guy. I watched him in Encino Man and the School Ties. But if you haven't followed his career, this guy was at the top of his game. Then he had multiple injuries. His mom died. He got a divorce. He gained weight. People forgot about him, right? He was a victim of like sexual assault. He was blacklisted. And now he's coming back. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is no one says anything bad about Brendan Fraser as a man, as an actor, right? Everyone said, man, fantastic castmate, good guy, professional. And he went through all that hell, right, Pete? But look at the long arc of life.
Yeah.
All these people are saying, Brendan Fraser, good guy. And he gets, he wins in the long run. And he doesn't give up his character. So for a guy like me and a guy like you, I saw this also. I was talking to Mehdi, Mehdi and I talk about this, and other Muslims talk about this. We know what we can sell in order to make money. I know the narrative I can sell. I can get, man, I'll be on Fox News tomorrow. They'll give me a 7-figure salary if I spoke like a certain narrative, right? But then I sell myself. What's the point? I have to look at myself in the mirror. Yeah. So I feel like people like us, will be last for a while in the race. We'll be maybe 8 or 10. It's not even a race for me. But we're going to go for the long run. And along the journey, we won't sacrifice our morals, our integrity, our ethics. And the people who love us will love us who we are. And I don't need 8 billion people. I don't need all the views. If I have the money of Joe Rogan, but I become a Joe Rogan, what's the point? I have to meet my creator, one of these days. My children have to think about me. Yeah. I have to, when my time is up and I'm reflecting on my life, I'm like, look how much damage I did. So I think guys like us, we walk our path, and inshallah, things are changing, Pete. And I feel like what I've seen, the positive news is, all the people who used to dismiss people like you and me, all the people who thought we were like reactionary or crazy, all the people who said, get on the Joe Rogan train and the manosphere train and throw the woke under the bus. I see those people waking up and saying, oh, these folks, Danielle, Francesca, Pete, Waj, I hope in our own way, oh, they were on it. They're consistent. They're sincere. I might disagree with them, but they're authentic and they're fighting the good fight. Let me support them. So that's my response to you.
I love that. And I appreciate it. And I, simple way for me is there's one person I couldn't let down, and it's the person who made me, and my big brother. And my big brother has been a radical our whole life. He was an anarchist, a leftist, radicalized by Noam Chomsky as a teenager, I think. He's the most original guy, and he's never wanted to do any harm to anyone. And if I sold out, I have like not sold out, but had opinions that, he vehemently disagreed with, and we've had a lot of issues over it and so on over the years. But like to let him down, to not be the change I want to see as much as I can be, is letting myself down. I could never be one of those people, and never wanted. Money also doesn't really motivate me as much as it does other people. So
yeah, we're terrible capitalists, sadly. It sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I just promotion and marketing and so on. But anyway, we're doing our best, and most of the people here watching us live, I think, are probably subscribers of yours. So come over to @StandUpWithPete, because I do a daily podcast with a full recap every day on the news, and that's really hard to produce. So please, and it's something different. And I talk to one smart person every day at least, and Waj is doing amazing work talking to so many people, some of which I've not heard of, and I'm discovering through your work. So let's keep doing it together. I love talking to you. You're a great friend.
I just shared, I'm on the Substacks right now. We have 1,400 people watching. So I just gave a link to Pete's Substack. Subscribe to his Substack and his daily podcast. For the Left Hook, everything is free, as you all know. There's no paywalls ever. So if you have a few dollars, go become a paid subscriber to Pete and become his Patreon subscriber. And I have, since I'm a terrible capitalist, 25% off, and everything's free. But that just, if any free subscribers want to help us, it's $3.80 a month. $3.80 a month.
If you're a free subscriber, become a paid subscriber to Waj right now. It's very little, and it's that time of year, and your Muslim kids probably want Christmas presents.
That's right. I'm raising them as really good American capitalists.
Were you? And by the way,
they don't. They're sweet.
One more thing, and I don't know where you're at with this. I find a lot of people. I was talking to Francesca about this, and other people. They're not like fully. They're not. I do these Zoom hangouts every week, and it's created a community of people. It's awesome. I think I'm uniquely good at it as a comic and a host, and I have no boundaries with people. But I highly encourage people to subscribe to my Patreon. Then you get the Zoom link, and others as well, other people's as well, But I do these hangouts every Thursday night at 8 p.m. and sometimes more. And it's created a community. I never expected to do that, but amazing people here on Earth One that become friends, that are supported. We get live events, and it's a wonderful benefit. And we do it every week and have been since the pandemic. And I don't know how to promote that.
I wanted to ask you about that because I've been a guest on your Zoom things twice. I was impressed, man. These are like really smart, educated, diverse people all around the country, different age groups who like join up and like listen to you. And I was thinking about like maybe I should offer that to the paid subscribers of Left Hook, but I'll make it free.
We should do something one night. We should talk about this out there. It might be boring for people to watch, but like tell people to come to my hangout and then take everybody, see what we're doing. And it just, like, to me, the most important thing we can do to beat fascism and authoritarianism is accept where we are, be real about where we are, and realize it's never going back. It's a hard thing to say, much less here. It's never going back to how it was when we were growing up. Nothing is. So in the midst of it, do what previous generations who are dealing with and living in authoritarian states have done, and read Viktor Frankl and understand that the thing you can do is connect with other people, advocate for other people, as we're seeing people do in cities across the country. And that's what I'm doing. I'm connecting. We're trying to protect marginalized communities and individuals and families and each other, help each other through the suffering, which is an inevitable part of life. And that's what we can do. And it feels so good to be a part of that and to connect with people that way. And I wasn't expecting to do that, but that's the world we live in, and that's what's happened. So,
well, in the Substack right now, what people are saying is community. That what you basically describe as community. And people feel fractured, they feel disenfranchised, they feel isolated and alone. And I think the power of community is you say, oh, you're not alone. That's the power of seeing the visibility brigade in like these red counties where 12 people are having a great time holding up posters, and they're like, oh, I thought I was the only one against Trump's hateful agenda. There's 12 others. Oh, and loneliness is a killer, folks. And organizing on the grassroots is how Mamdani won. Organizing the grassroots is how we had the civil rights movement. Organizing the grassroots is how women got the right to vote. And this is going to require 10 toes down, grassroots, community by community, ground up, not top down, ground up type of community activism for us to, inshallah, not just reform this country, but for us to also restore our spirits and our health. So a lot of people are interested. Pete, before you go, shamelessly, people are asking, where can they join your Zoom? How do they give us links, man?
If you become a free Patreon subscriber right now, patreon.com/Pete Dominic, you could come to Thursday nights. I'll make it free. Thursday night.
I just did it. I posted it.
Thursday night thank you so much, at 8 p.m., wherever time zone you are. Come and see what we do. I promise you, you will like it. And Waj, maybe you could stop by to make it fun and funnier. We talk about everything. Sometimes I am there for 3 hours some Thursday nights. We drink if you drink. We laugh a lot. We share all these ideas that you're talking about in ways and solutions to protect each other, to resist, and to build community. And we laugh a lot. It's wonderful. I mean, it's just a wonderful, amazing group of people who come from all over the country to Zoom. We started doing it during the pandemic, during lockdown. I was like, we're all alone and scared and have no idea what's going on. And it accidentally created this community. We're not massive, but we usually get like 50, 80 people, but we could get hundreds on Thursday night, thanks to you. So Patreon.
No, I had fun. I've had fun. And it always gives me excuse to look at Pete's shiny bald head, which if I ever go bald, which I think I am, my fear is my head will not be as spherically, symmetrically shaped as Pete's.
You'll be fine. A lot of the Zooms, I do wear a hat though. So.
No, but then I can't do it. I like that's my fetish. I need like some people like feet. I like Pete's bald head. That's just how it is.
Final question, and thank you for all the kind words and promotion. And I hope people will stop by on Thursday night. Just join for free. Patreon.com/PeteDominic. When you were a Muslim American, you were born and raised in California. What did Christmas look like and feel like? Is it like my Jewish friends that some of them were jealous, some of them thought it was silly, and had their own stuff? And how are you raising your own kids? Do you have any Christmas lights out or any Christmas decorations? I know Jewish people who just love the tree. What was it like for you growing up? What are you doing for your kids?
All right, let me put it this way. I asked my mom one day when I was a kid, I said, Mama, I lost my tooth. Is the tooth fairy coming? And my mom's like, this is nonsense that Americans teach their children. You lost your tooth. All right. I asked my parents, Mama, Baba, Abu, Ammi, is Santa Claus coming and giving me a present? He goes, Santa Claus is not real. This is bullshit. And Christians believe in this. We are Muslim. You have Eid. Eat some food. So I never felt, but the funny thing is I never felt any like loss. I always enjoyed Christmas because you had the cartoons and the festivity and the lights and the sales. So I thought it was fun, as a kid. And we used to like learn the jingles in school. My kids haven't felt the loss of it. I think my kids last year for the first time, like, should we have a tree in the house? And my parents kind of like, whatever, man, we're not Christian. Why the F we have a tree? I know some Muslims, very practicing Muslims, it's become very cultural for them, like Halloween and Thanksgiving. So they don't celebrate Christmas, but they're like, everyone has a tree out, everyone has lights out, we'll do it. Presents, why not? But I think we're kind of more old school. Like, people always joke, how they say fresh off the boat? My parents brought the boat inside the home. They didn't give any F about like assimilation. They named me Wajahat. They're like, he'll learn. They didn't even teach me English, Pete. Even though I was born and raised here. They're like, he'll learn eventually. And then when it came to Thanksgiving, my mother rebelled against the turkey because she's like, who likes this dry ass bird? And then one day, I remember it was 25 years ago, my father finally decided to tackle the turkey. He goes, I will make the turkey. And like my mom's like, no, I'm going to make my chicken. It's going to be flavorful. I don't understand why these white Americans like this dry bird. And my dad's like, you will see. I will deep fry the turkey. And he did his research and he deep fried the turkey and he put spice in it. It was pretty good. But my mom made her chicken. So my kids don't care. We give them love. They get so many toys anyway. And my thing is fine. Maybe I'll do some lights for you if you care. Maybe I'll do a tree if you care. But they don't really care.
I just try to sell one thing and just push back and then I'll let you go, which is, don't you think you're depriving your kids of that feeling that overnight a magical person comes and delivers all these presents? And one of the great things is the stockings. The stockings also are filled with stuff. And I used to go down in the middle of the night and look at it all. Don't you think that your kids should be able to go to bed one night and wake up with all these prizes? Can't you adapt this somehow? And
they're so spoiled by me, sadly, that literally after we talk, I promised my daughter I'd get her a Labubu doll. And my wife looks at me, she goes, why? And she says, but I promised her. And she goes, so? You could say no, but I said, I promised her. So, they're like, my wife just looks at me and she goes, what's wrong with you? Like a child. So they already get so many toys from me that they don't care. Like
it's different. I'm telling you, that overnight, that wake up and they're all there. You know what? Let's just do it. I'm just going to show up on Christmas morning at your house with a sack of toys for your kids and say, the white elf is here. I'll wear elf ears maybe. We'll make up a whole thing. You can call me something, and then I'll do it every year. It'll be your money and present.
My son will call 911 and goes, Baba, there's a white MAGA here with a gun. Get him. They finally found our house. He wants to kidnap us.
I'm not gonna have a gun. I'm gonna have just a sack of
Like a
toys.
burlap sack. He's like, he's gonna go for Khadija. Run.
Wearing Carhartt. I don't know why it's so threatening.
It's a good. You know what? I might. Let's see. But now they're old. They don't care.
Yeah.
I do think though it is really. I think there's some wonderful traditions about it, and like I do think if let me put it this way: as a Muslim who went to an all boys Jesuit Catholic high school, if MAGA in particular and white Christian nationalists could lean into Jesus during Christmas, America would be a lovely place if they could lean into Jesus.
Well said. And you've talked to John.
Oh yeah.
Fugel saying.
And his book is great, Separation of Church and Hate.
Okay.
I gotta run. But we got 1,500 people watching on Substack. All of my subscribers subscribe to Stand Up with Pete. Good guy. Every day he has a really smart, progressive voice, in-depth interviews. His Rolodex is even bigger than mine. And he has this great community that he's offering to you for free. And if you give him enough money and compliments, he will shine his head while live streaming. He makes it really oily. It's really attractive to watch.
And for both my subscribers, go subscribe to The Left Hook. Waj is the greatest. If you didn't already know, you're always the greatest. Have a great night. Thanks to everybody watching live, and good night. See you.
I gotta go spend $30 on this freaking Labubu for my daughter, but
enjoy every
she'll
second.
be happy.
Every second with her. Bye, bud.